What's up, guys? We're just out in the garage hanging out with the 72 volt BBS02. It's a little traumatized, got a little beat up from the initial transition over to 72 volts. So I'm just out in the garage in the phase runner suite. So I was goofing around with the sensorless starting parameters on this thing because I was messing with it in the garage, and it seems like it was having a little bit of trouble with the sensorless start. So let's hit the throttle. Oh man. All right, I don't know if I like that. We're changing that back to what I had. Maybe increase the RPMs just a little bit. Let's see here. All right, so we're changing that stuff. Save parameters. So I got 15 amps injection current, 12 RPM. What happens? Alright, so that's a little better. A little bit more RPM. So that seems like it's working good in the stand, but you'll never know until you get out on the road. Let's see what else is going on. So here's my settings. I don't know. I mean, I went back and I watched all of the footage of the maiden voyage for the BBS02. I went back and studied that.
So first gear is going about 22 miles an hour. Oh. Second's going about 28, 29, 30. Wow, that's more fun. So we have it set to 2,000 watts max. Shift into third. All right, here we go. We're going 30 miles an hour, 33, 34 on the sidewalk.
And it seemed like when I first set out, it didn't seem like it was much louder than the stock BBS02 was on 48 volts. So, I mean, I think throughout that ride...
Whoa, whoa, we're getting a weird noise. Oh, what's that? What is that noise? Is that the motor?
The motor was kind of like breaking down, perhaps, in more ways than one. Possibly. I had to fix it a little bit. You can go back and watch that video. And I also need to fix the magnets. They're coming loosey-goosey. Alright guys, so as I'm wiping all the magnet dust off of my tattered, derelict road... Now it's, so I fixed the rotor, the magnets came off, and there's a problem with my wiring that I still haven't figured out. But I mean, the rotor, I think it's fixed. It's got a bunch of JB weld on it now, so I mean, the rotor itself is a little bit like heavier probably, and it might not be in like pristine condition anymore after what happened. But I think that noise, like, it just sounds really loud now. It's working, but it seems really loud. So let's get it spinning here and see what happens. Kind of like an oscillating noise. Interesting. On that humming, it's like... Alright, well I don't know. I mean, I think when I was adjusting the temperature thresholds on that maiden voyage, I was basing it on that thermistor that I had installed on the motor windings. So I thought I was going to be able to set that temperature a little warmer than I did in my HD. But I mean, obviously the magnets came flying off like immediately. I don't think the magnets coming loose had anything to do with temperature. I think that was just with like that happened from the increased phase current. I was using 75 amps of phase current when I went out on that first ride, but I lowered that back down to 50 amps of phase current, which is about 120 newton meters, which is what that's like the normal, you know, rating of the motor on 48 volts is 120 newton meters. So I made the phase current, I backed that down from 75 to 50. Maybe that was a little bit of a miscalculation on my part. I just thought, well, 25 amps times 2 or 2.5 or whatever. So what is that, like 60 or 70? I mean, maybe I had that phase current set a little bit high on that maiden voyage at 75. That was probably too much. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, it should be able to handle like 60, right? But I don't know. The motor's kind of like damaged right now, so I'm gonna leave it at 50 phase current. It's still at 2,000 watts. Max power. Max battery current's 25 amps. So one thing I noticed is now my the virtual freewheeling like doesn't seem like it works anymore. It just like I've turned it on and off and saved it and unsaved it and changed the motor stall timeout, and it just seems like the virtual electronic freewheeling doesn't work anymore. So I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming it's still enabled on the controller, but there's just something that is causing it to stall, like it's doing the stall timeout. I tried increasing that, but it still doesn't work. So I don't know if I need to increase the freewheeling current or something, like make it 2 amps maybe. That was just something I noticed earlier. Like I can't get the freewheeling to work anymore. Oh. It sounds like something's maybe a little bit off in there. Well, it's kind of a rainy day, so I'm just gonna take it outside and ride up the hill while it's not raining and get that on video so I can listen to how that sounds. I'm gonna put it back. Let's put it back into hall sensor start and sensorless run, and we'll save that. So I don't know. Here's what we got. Pause that if you want to look at it. I'm gonna take it out and just like ride it quick and see what happens. It's kind of interesting how that sensorless, when I change it and it switches over into sensorless, it seems like it was going a lot faster. So let's try this with 50 phase amps on the tattered motor. How hot do you guys think that the motor windings get compared to the nylon gear? Like, if I have the thermistor in the motor windings, I imagine the nylon gear
Must not quite be that hot, right? I like how this thermistor on the motor windings reacts so much faster than the ambient air temp. I gotta get one of those in my BBS HD. So I think something might be goofed up with the nylon gear. I mean, it did probably get too hot, because when I was on that maiden voyage, I saw the temperature jumped up to like 100 and something when everything got jammed up. But I mean, does all that heat transfer to the nylon gear? I don't know. Let me know in the comments. How hot does that nylon gear get compared to the motor windings, and what should I use as my temperature thresholds for the BBS02? It still moves, but it's just really loud. Some people have suggested maybe there's like a bearing some bearings got messed up. That's possible. I ordered some more. Those bearings that are on the rotor. It's also possible that the rotor, I don't know, I mean, I could have probably bent it, like the gear on it, when I was pulling it out. Maybe that's, it sounds like there's some kind of like oscillating, like as it's running in this, when I had it running in the stand, it sounded like it was kind of oscillating. It could just be the tuning, but I mean, I went back and I watched that maiden voyage video, and at the beginning, like the very beginning where I first start riding it down that sidewalk, like it sounded like a normal BBS02. So first gear is going about 22 miles an hour. Oh. Second's going about 28, 29, 30. Wow. That's more fun. Right, except it was on like 72 volts. But then like things started breaking down. And it started getting louder. I think this bike might just be geared like too high for this too. Like it's geared 42 teeth in the front chainring, just kind of big, and then the back gear is 32 teeth, just because it's just like a cheap cassette. Like that's the lowest gear it has, so it's 42, 32. I don't know, my BBS HD handled that on 72 volts pretty good, but I think on the O2 you might have to use a smaller, like you might have to gear it lower. It's probably similar to the HD in that regard. It's going 31 miles an hour in first gear with less than 1,000 watts. That was kind of downhill, but it's really loud though. Man. Wow, this thing's crazy. I don't want to scare people. Man, that's crazy. She's a screamer. I don't know. Well, I'm probably gonna open it up and like poke around in it. It seems like something's out of whack still, but all right.